Alright, YouTube, this is a copy of the Dayton Daily News yesterday. And look what was on the front page. I actually know the guy that was in this article right here. That was in this article. And, so I'm going to read some of it. It says, as the coronavirus pandemic spreads, the homeless are a vulnerable population, and local organizations are trying to meet the needs of men, women, and children living on the street. To stop the spread of the virus, of course, I've been complaining about many of these issues because the conditions for the homeless have just been inhumane. And it says, to stop the spread of the virus, most public water fountains, libraries, and other places the homeless have used to stay clean or dry are all closed right now. Thanks to efforts from a local homeless man and several agencies serving the at-risk population. This week, shower accommodations were opened at St. Vincent, were opened up to the homeless in St. Vincent de Paul, and Life Enrichment Center Goodwill for the homeless to shower. And I'm just watching people suffer, said Lewis Wood Jr., a Dayton activist who's currently homeless. This is the worst time to be homeless because they have had all their services taken away because of the fear of this virus. Wood said he has spearheaded an effort to get help for the street homeless at Dayton. He said he has called Dayton, Montgomery County Public Health, several Dayton City Commissioners, the American Red Cross, to get relief on the homeless. After becoming aware of the issue, St. Vincent de Paul has opened up its shelters and hand washing stations at the shelters too. I'm going to continue on with this article, then I'm going to give some commentary on this article here, because this issues, and I'll see if I can post a link to the article in the video that was in the digital edition of this paper. But yeah, this issue's been ignored for far too long. And we're going to continue on at the shelter at Apple Street. There's the article continuing in the print edition. I rarely ever buy this thing, so it says shelter at Apple Street in Dayton from... I'm just going to focus like this because it's too hard to read the article with the camera being in front of it. It says shelter at 120 West Apple Street from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. every day for showers for them. And Vanderberg, who said they could also get a sack lunch before they leave Miami Valley Housing, has been working to get these resources. Open up since the coronavirus started, said Heather Wilson, the agency's program services manager. Wilson said the showers at Goodwill Easter Seals at the St. Elizabeth building will be open by appointment. A MVO case manager must be present to the person who wishes to shower. The Life Enrichment, who will also be open for the homeless to clean themselves. The days and times are still to be determined up in the air. And I'm just going to say this much. Life Enrichment Center should have never closed for showers during this whole pandemic, because that was a place that's not affiliated with St. Vincent de Paul. And shame on the people at Life Enrichment that made the decision to close that altogether for the people that really need this, you know. They said, we are working to get a solution to this, Wilson said, because it is slow moving. Because everyone is working remotely. Wilson said no one planned for a pandemic like this, but this organization is learning as the pandemic is progressing. We are fully engaged working with working to get the homeless population food, blankets, and whatever resources they need. The county, citywide, and various agencies are coming closer to while trying to help this population. Wilson said MVHO, while working with a couple other agencies to offer more locations for the homeless to shower and stay clean. Desperate need right there. Wood said he recently saw somebody spit on their hands to clean themselves off. This is alarming. If the homeless street population can't get clean, they could be at higher risk of getting the coronavirus or spreading it. St. Vincent de Paul has portable hand stations in addition to their regular restroom facilities at each of their emergency shelters and the permitted housing sites in downtown Dayton. North Main Street in Dayton and in Kettering, other homeless can now use these hand washing stations. We recognize there are folks who will not stay in a shelter. Wood said the only place for the homeless to sit down and eat a meal is a gospel mission. All the other food pantries and carryouts, all the other food pantries and soup kitchens are carry-out only. People are just sitting on the concrete because they can't even go and sit down somewhere. Wood said it's really bad out here right now. St. Vincent de Paul is housing 82 homeless men and women and children at hotels. Those are the high-risk, guests who are more susceptible to getting this because of the communal living environment of a shelter. These guests are susceptible to coronavirus because they are seniors, have chronic health conditions, or young children who are especially at risk of spreading the virus, Vanderberg said. Another 300 men and women are in St. Vincent's regular shelter. Some people like Wood choose not to sleep in shelters. And here's where this gets good too. Ryan McGlynn, former mayor of Dayton, said no one was prepared to change their operations for a pandemic like this. There is so much going on in this country right now. This is a group that probably got overlooked. Well, they didn't probably get overlooked. They did get overlooked. And she said those living on the streets are a vulnerable group, and there should be a plan for keeping them healthy if something like this were to happen again, or if a second wave of the coronavirus is going to happen, saying like there is going to be. We need to do something to make sure that if we're taking something away, we're putting something in lieu of it. Wood is currently waiting for housing through MVHO. He is showering where he can at friends' houses. This has to be done for the future. This kind of pandemic could happen again next time. We need to make sure the homeless won't be as bad off. Well, I'm going to say a few things about this whole article, okay, people? And, and as far former Mayor Ryan McGlynn, she's saying stuff that of course the skeptic in me will always question, would she be saying this if she was still the mayor of the city? But either way, it's good to recognize she recognizes the problem, even though I don't know what her active role is in Dayton politics or what she's doing these days. And yeah, nobody was prepared for this. There should have been a plan, and it should have started at the federal and state level to, you take everything away from these people that they need. There is going to be a massive, problem out here with this. And again, one of my whole issues with the shelters is that, and a lot of people don't want to stay in the shelter, and there's people that this article mentioned that because, and they used to have a cold shelter years ago, but then they merged and morphed everything together with St. Vincent, de Paul, when the Salvation Army, shame on them. They should have kept their booth house open years ago, or at least found a way to add on to it or have a separate shelter, because that's a major problem, only having one organization, run a shelter, and as far as I'm concerned, Salvation Army is equally at fault for this, because their community outreach center. They closed their doors to people, the crack center. They could have stayed open for people during this time, and they chose not to, all because of this fear of this, you know, pandemic. Yet they didn't care about any of their vulnerable guests who don't have any, you know, where to go. But yeah, when you see, and I'm seeing, you know, and then Wood, he talked about, you know, the, you know, people just spitting to wash their hands because there's not that many places that have a public bathroom available that people can, you know, use right now. Like the gyms and that were taken away. So even if they had a membership, you know, this was all taken away from them, and they're having to eat outside like dogs, people, because they don't have anywhere to sit down except the gospel mission, and they serve a meal once a day. But what about the other meals that these people, you know, need? I'm in the Miller Lane area as I'm making this video, by the way. That's it out there. But so yeah, and you guys seen my videos of the overflow and trash outside of House of Bread, because they're giving people takeouts because they're not letting them sit down anywhere to eat. So this is a major problem. You know, my big fear that what's going to happen is that the local mayor did not chime in on this article yet, not to my knowledge, but my big fear is that, you know, when if things go back to normal in a week, they're just going to try and whitewash this whole situation and pretend that it never happened. Don't let that happen, people. Make sure that our state, local, and federal leaders have a plan in place for the next time this happens. You know, in addition to the homeless, there's so many people that have lost their jobs in this situation. You know, it was mainly the at-risk population, you know, the homeless, the seniors, and those with severe mental illness or other pre-existing conditions. They've been the ones at risk to get the, you know, coronavirus. Don't punish the regular, average, healthy, you know, person by making them stay home, all because of fear of this, you know, virus. And they're saying, you know, this virus could spike again next winter. And I'm going to tell you, though, it's going to be interesting to see if it does. Will they have learned their lesson, and will they have a better plan in place, not just in this area, but across the country for the vulnerable groups like the homeless and the poor people, so they're not having to be out, you know, outside eating their food like dogs, or having to be charging their phones on sides of buildings or in the lobby of Walmart or Myers because nothing else is open for them, where they're not having to, you know, ride the buses around all day, or just, you know, charge their phones on sides of buildings because everything, you know, was taken from these people. And you know, Life Enrichment Center, shame on them for shutting their doors. They could have did a takeout food, and they could have at least still let people shower. And shame on them and these other nonprofits who are so poorly ran, who closed their doors. I would not donate to the local Life Enrichment Center, Salvation Army, or I'm just going to say St. Vincent de Paul. Right? Well, St. Vincent de Paul did open up, but my problem with them is they have a monopoly on the shelter situation. And that's wrong, you know, right now. And it's I mean, it's a massive problem when there's only one shelter and one organization that runs it. I mean, I know a lot of people that are homeless, so I've seen how they're suffering greatly with almost everything being shut down like this. But yeah, it's time that people, you know, that people get a place that they can go where they're not just left to rot out here, and they're not being treated with, you know, inhumane conditions once again. But I know I'm going to have more to say about this in a upcoming video too, once the state reopens. But that's it for this one.